Hello, this is Ken Sisk, and welcome back to Wood, Stone, and Steel. In today's episode, we will be talking about plastering. Not the type of plastering you are used to seeing in the modern construction, but true old-world craftsmanship and artistry. Instead of using sheetrock and gypsum joint compound, you will see original new projects using riven wood lath and genuine lime plaster. I know it may not sound sexy, but wait till you see what you can create with it. Complex crown moldings, relief work, strapping, and detailed ornamentation for your ceiling or wall. We will also introduce you to a proper English gentleman, Mr. Philip Gaches, also known as the Professor of Plastering. So let's take a stroll through the Cotswolds and have a little sandwich and sandwich. Wood, Stone, and Steel will take you on a journey of reconnection with a more natural way of building. We will visit places, buildings, and structures that are primarily made of natural materials throughout the world. In our journey, you will also meet artisans and design professionals who bring beauty, comfort, and familiarity back into our world. This episode is brought to you by Best of Lime, innovators in lime plaster. When I mention plaster, most of you are probably envisioning the bland, lifeless white walls of apartment buildings and tract homes. It's true that modern construction methods use boards of paper-faced compressed gypsum, or more commonly referred to as sheetrock, wallboard, plasterboard, or gypsum board. But what if I told you you could enhance your dull flat surfaces with a multitude of beautiful rosettes, moldings, friezes, and more? There was a time not too long ago when the walls and ceilings in homes were built with lath and plaster. These were times where true trade professionals learned their craft through an apprenticeship period before being allowed to apply the fine workings of true plastering. Plaster finishing was not only used on the inside of buildings and homes, but the outside as well. I am here to tell you that there are still companies in the world who specialize in these types of plastering methods. I had the fortunate privilege of meeting Philip Gaches of Gaches Plastering and witnessed firsthand how he creates these walls and ceilings at a project in Sandwich, England. He also provided us exclusive access to an incredible manor house in the Cotswolds with origins and heritage back to the 12th century. Philip is world-renowned for his expertise and professionalism when it comes to the world of plastering, and has recently published 2 books on the subject. Because of his knowledge, expertise, and passion regarding his trade, I have heard many people refer to him as the Professor of Plastering. He and his 2 sons, William and Jude, are the key members of Gaches Plastering. I first came across Philip Gaches and his work online through a series of social media posts that immediately caught my eye. What stood out wasn't just his ability to restore historic plasterwork, but that he was also creating beautiful new pieces using the same traditional methods. Not long after, I was planning a trip to London with my wife and son, who love the theater, to see 6 shows in 7 days. I saw this trip as the perfect opportunity to meet Philip and see his work firsthand. To my pleasant surprise, he was incredibly receptive and invited me to visit one of his favorite projects, a historic manor house in the Cotswolds. Right here, we'll just say hi. Hello there, Philip.
Hello, Ken. So yeah, we plastered all of the walls and we lime washed everything. The faces on the oriel window are the family, I think. So the husband and wife and then the children.
And the gutters, what are they made of?
They're stone, they're just built into the window.
Oh, no, the gutters.
The gutters,
yeah.
Cast iron.
Cast iron?
Yeah, cast iron with some hoppers and downpipes. And we hid some insects on it. There's a little bee.
Oh, that is so cool.
But those are the things we try and make them kind of playful, you know, when we
yeah, so
for people to come in and go, find new things, you know, and go, oh wow, there's a bee, I haven't seen that bee before. Or for children, I like to think of the family children being given a task to say, there's 10 insects in the room, right? Find them.
Like Easter egg hunt. We just had Easter. Yeah.
To get them looking at things and get them interested in it, you know.
But now this finish, how did you get that? It has like a little different texture.
It's slightly sandy, yeah.
Yeah.
So this has sand in it.
Okay.
Because the woman that led this task for us, Joanna from Suffolk, she likes to work with a sandier finish.
Okay.
And so I said to her, just do what you want.
Yeah.
If you want to use it sandy, that's fine. So yeah, it's a different texture. But still lovely work. It's very much the same. The reason for that is that when this attaches to the house, it doesn't quite work properly.
Yeah, I remember when we went to Leeds Castle was similar to this.
Yeah. If you look here now, you can see there's another bit of stairs goes up here, but there's no way of getting to it. So there's this.
Yeah.
The other side of this, but there's no access to it from anywhere. So we don't know what's going on up there. But originally, I think that went to the roof, and the roof was defendable.
Oh, right. So you probably would have kept coming here, maybe.
Yeah. So this is called the solar. I'm sure you'll see my pictures.
Yes, this is called the cellar?
The solar.
Solar?
Yeah, so it's like a room.
Sunroom.
They could use it.
I gotcha.
During the day, they could come in and get lots of light and read and do needlework and whatever they wanted to do.
Right.
So this is like their living room of 1500. In 1500, this was the living room. So brand new ceiling. Well, everything in is brand new.
Right. I think I even saw you had the lath on it.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Yeah. So we lathed it, and then we put this pattern onto it. Very handmade, very wobbly, very traditional. Yeah. And this marquetry is stunning. It's they think it might be Venetian because how in Venice the water goes right up to the house.
Yeah.
And then you've got this lobby inside where you get off the boat and go into the house. Yeah. And this is what it looks like. You've got these swans right in front of the house. So I think it may have been Venetian. But it's a beautiful piece. We were French until then.
Okay.
So when all of that was going on, we weren't even here. You get a good view of the Great Hall.
Oh my gosh.
Peephole window.
That is a great detail. That really is.
Little Jack Badger carving.
After my tour of the manor house with Philip, he graciously invited me for lunch at the Porch House in the quaint village of Stow-on-the-Wold. The Porch House is considered to be England's oldest inn, with origins dating back to 947 AD. It was fitting that I spoke to Philip in this 10th century inn about the idea of my new YouTube channel, Wood, Stone and Steel. He totally agreed that we need more natural materials and artistry in the built environment, and said he would help me in any way he could. I can truthfully say that Philip was one of my first supporters because he even picked up the tab for lunch. After my visit to England, I was inspired to plan our very first Wood, Stone and Steel filming adventure. 8 months later, we returned with an action-packed itinerary, traveling more than 1,500 miles across the country to meet craftsmen and design professionals who share our passion for natural materials and artistry in the built environment. One of those stops was the historic town of Sandwich. True to his word, Philip invited me to witness an Elizabethan-style ceiling being created entirely from scratch inside a private home. He was running a 4-day course for professional plasterers, teaching them the traditional techniques step by step. Let's take a closer look at day 1 as they lay down the base coat and begin the layout.
To mix this, we use just a paddle mixer, and we put the fibres into the water. They disperse better if you put them straight into the water. Yeah. And normally, like 3/4 of one of these buckets is enough water for 1 bag. So I've got some of last week's material in here, so I'm just going to whisk that round and just get that moving. Yeah. So it does keep, this was just in a bucket over the weekend, this stuff from last week, and it's still soft. It still performs like an on-high. Yeah.
It's insulating, isn't it? It's like perlite.
There is a perlite.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's about right. So it's fairly stiff, but not it's not going to kill us trying to get it on. At the same time, it's not sloppy wet. And it's a bit odd because you can, like another half a pint of water and it would become sloppy. It's quite a subtle thing which I generally get wrong. You're talking about warm coat.
Well, we were just saying about with that. They say about putting that over the laths, don't they? First, so I wasn't sure. This is obviously still okay to put straight onto the laths.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The only difference is the other one's giving you thermal performance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it's just fine to go straight on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 plus years. And
yeah.
Nicely rounded edges.
Special, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I did. Sorry.
I've got a small tool called Lucille. BB King's guitar. We tend to use fairly small laying on trowels for this because I don't want to try and make it too flat. Because I think when we look at the original ceilings, they're never that flat. They're flattish, And we did find a mark of a trowel. Bless you. The mark of a trowel in a ceiling, in a bit of scratch coating, bit of pricking up at Apethorpe, where they pricked up the ceiling and then built a wall underneath it, and it had never been plastered. So it just got this first coat on. And there was a mark of a little pointed trowel, like a small pointed bricklaying trowel. But we still use these anyway, so lay on. So before we plaster any lath work, I just usually knock the brush out and then just go over the ceiling and wet them. It takes the dust off, creates a little dampness in the laths. Yeah. How many people do you have? They were fabulously wealthy, the Medicis and all those merchants, and money was the key to the Renaissance. And it happened here just afterwards, like a period. We had British Renaissance or Northern Renaissance just afterwards, and there was lots of wealth because of the wool and the shipping trade, and the merchants got wealthy, and they started commissioning all of this stuff. And it's really important that it wasn't just a fashion thing, it was just because they got wealthy. The problem we have at the moment is that we need another Renaissance, because we've got lots of wealthy people, and we could have another Renaissance, but they don't necessarily commission this kind of thing. So they,
You could say the last Renaissance was...
So I basically drew this grid out. So where these lines cross over, there's a centre for this arc. And corresponding one here, but also where these two lines cross over, there's a centre for this arc, here, and here. And this space here just appears when you put everything in around it. It's so the idea is we'll put these two quatrefoils in, and then we'll put these others in. But if we put this grid pattern in first, then that should put everything just about in the right place.
Have you worked from a set? Do you take that as a centre point and then work your grid back from that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So where would you start? Where's your first point that you would
Sure.
I would put the centres in.
Okay.
So put the 2 centre lines in, and then it kind of anchors you to
Work
everything
out
being.
from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, then divide up whatever measurement. If that room, sorry.
No, you're okay. You're right, and it is a collaborative thing. So if you see, I mean, what I did was I measured this at 25 and that at 25 centimetres. I'm working in to give us that centre. So 25 from here and 25 from there, and then 75 from there gives us this line that goes through here. Yeah. And then 1.2 from the centre gives us that line. So then you've got that centre and that centre. So like that. But like I say, this will be different because this is a bigger panel to that one. And this probably... So what we'll do is we'll put these lines in, and then we'll mark out the quatrefoils, and then we'll look at them and say, okay, well that one's not quite right, so we'll move that over a bit and we'll play around with it.
During the morning tea break, I noticed one of the students wearing the iconic Zombieland hat and realized it was none other than James Collier, a master pargeter I had been following on social media. I introduced myself and told him how impressed I was with his work. This chance encounter led to making an entire wood, stone, and steel episode about pargeting.
190, 95 is about there, and that's as precise as it needs to be. We'll do the same on the side, these guys. So we've got about 350, so 175.
Yep.
About there. Yeah, it looks about right, doesn't it? We'll do the same. So we'll go all the way around, just transferring these centre and the other end here, and put those on there. Then we can just mark a line through. On the tank, that's what old plasterer Barry used to say when we were marking out stucco and things. Holiday.
You can almost snap it into it, I bet, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could use a chalk line.
Yeah.
It just leaves that mark, doesn't it?
That's it.
And we know they scratched it.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, that's it. We know they scratched it because we found those on the ceiling at Eighthorpe. So we'll do the same here.
Yeah.
We'll just pick a corner each and we'll just start laying mortar onto the pattern. No more precise than that. And just go along doing that, and then there's 4 of these and there's 1 each. Again, they're just carved out of a piece of oak.
Is that what you call a thumb mould, is it? Or similar?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, a thumb mould is usually like a little thing. These I call these running moulds.
Yeah, okay.
But they're carved out of oak, chamfered away, dip them in water, always keep that top bit wet. And then you can just start bringing them around.
Yeah.
So there's 4 of those. So we can get those out like almost out in one hit.
See, building on it. You're not worried about the thickness then, basically?
No, not at all.
No. Yeah.
And we're just going to do that, following those scratches in the skin, essentially. around to there, and then around to there like that.
Yeah.
So we've got about 15 circles. This one goes right. This side, not that one. Beginning to look like a scene.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a look to see what type of material they're actually using as the base lime mixture. All right, so it's a universal lime plaster, lime coat. And then, what was the name of the gentleman?
Oh, Martin Brown.
Martin Brown.
Yeah,
Okay,
Martin
good.
Brown. He started the business about I don't know, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
There are alternatives, but I like Martin's stuff, and I have a good relationship with him. He's a really nice guy.
And it's basically pretty much lime and chalk.
So it's lime and chalk, yeah, with the fibres come inside the bag.
Yeah, I saw the bag.
In a little sweetie bag, and yeah, it's a really simple material.
All right.
Yeah, okay, we got it.
So the fibers are nylon.
Yeah, the fibres are nylon.
I think from the book, your book, I think it was about 1.25 inches.
We would cut hair to 1.25 inches,
Okay.
yeah, but the nylon, these are 15 mil or something, they're really short, half an inch.
Oh, half an inch, okay.
Yeah, because these are actually the material that they use in those padded jackets like Victor's wearing now. If you tore that open, we could use the fibres for the mix.
So if we run out, we could take your jacket.
We probably won't.
Yes, that's amazing. You just keep this stuff outside while you're going to use it all day.
Yeah.
And it's still workable.
We'll use that tomorrow if we needed to.
Boy, that's so much more forgiving.
Oh, it is. It's so much better. Yeah, don't tell the modern plasterers.
Oh,
Keep that to yourself.
modern plasterers will have no idea what to do with here.
It is so much.
Gypsum versus this.
With gypsum, you have as soon as you put water with it, you've got a clock is ticking, isn't it? It's going to
Yes.
set. But with this stuff, you determine how quick things are going to go by suction or warmth, or reducing the suction.
Yeah.
You're in control of it, so it's much easier, much nicer,
Love it.
much friendlier.
Friendly, I like that.
Yeah, it's a friendly material.
Time friendly.
While the sealing course continued in Sandwich, we made our way back to the Cotswolds with Philip to revisit the 12th century manor house and see it after the renovations were complete. It was the perfect opportunity to sit down with Philip to talk about his restoration work, the history of the house, and the long tradition of plastering that inspired it all. Today, we are at a beautiful manor house in the Cotswolds of England, and we are investigating, actually reviewing, a beautiful Elizabethan ceiling that actually was put together by Philip Gaches of Gaches Plasterers. And I'd like to introduce you to him, and he'll start to describe how this ceiling came about and what the process was. Philip, can you give us a little indication, like, what was the status of the ceiling when you first got here?
Okay, so the previous plasterwork had been removed. It was a Victorian intervention, so it was plastered between the beams in that sort of black and white, fake Tudorish way the Victorians do.
Right.
So that had been removed, so we just had timber.
So base timber, and then from there you had to put on the lath, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. So first of all, we go through a design process. So we look at a drawing and come up with some kind of figure that we think it's gonna cost to do. And once that's done, then we can arrive on site and start the plasterwork. So the first thing we do is apply laths, hand split. They're in 4-foot lengths, and we have to fit them in this sort of mesh
system where they all overlap. And
Is it a particular type of wood?
yeah, it was oak over here, but
okay.
it can be chestnut.
Oh, so oak and chestnut are the predominant lath used as far as material?
Yeah, they are.
Okay. Always wondered what that was. As far as the strength, durability.
I'm guessing also for the way they split.
Okay.
It'll be grain based, which you might speak to Ben about. So they split in a nice straight line, you know.
Right. Okay, but as far as the design too, I guess there was some, of course, you said there was preliminary planning that went on. As far as the design, who selected the design of the ceiling?
Okay, well, it's inspired by a ceiling in Wales from a house called Plasmauer, which is a 17th century ceiling. And if you compare the two, you'll see some similarities. There are also the designs that were originally used came from early books that were produced by people like Serlio and Riedman de Vries. They were common designers in the 16th, 17th century. So they inspired these designs.
Now, I remember the last time I met you, you talked about how the original ceilings used to be made of wood. But I don't want to paraphrase too much, but I think you said that the king actually had all of the carpenters under him that actually could actually do that work. And that other type of nobleman wanted to actually have a ceiling similar.
Yeah.
And then I think you said that plaster was like the next iteration of the wood ceiling in order to break away and have some sort of, I guess, more common nobleman being able to have a beautiful ceiling like this.
Yeah, let's talk about the history then. So the evolution of plasterwork started in around about 1480. Prior to that, there are no plastered ceilings in the country. And that's linked with the evolution of the domestic fireplace. So this house, for example, open medieval hall, the arrangement was for a fire to be built on the floor in the middle of the single room and for the smoke to drift up through the roof or through a flue, as we have here, built into the roof space. So later in the 15th century, the domestic fireplace was designed, and these houses were modified to incorporate those, which meant that you could seal off the top of the room. So the word ceiling comes from sealing off the top of the room to make it less drafty and cleaner.
Never knew that. So ceiling comes from that.
From sealing the room, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Originally spelled S-E-E, I think, or something like that. So they were able to insert these ceilings to make the house cleaner and warmer. And they were doing that in timber to start with. Plaster wasn't used on the ceiling, like I say, till about 1480. So they would build the flat area out with close boards of timber and then carve ribs to create the geometric designs and hand carve the bosses and that sort of thing. But it was very lengthy, it was very expensive, there weren't very many people around that could do it, and it was all the work was kind of controlled by the king.
Wow.
And so in 1480 at Acton Court, they installed the first bit of plasterwork, and it's just the flat areas between the ribs.
Okay.
So the ribs are still being carved in timber.
So it would look kind of like similar to the outside of a Tudor building where you have the timbers and you fill in the infill?
Yeah, something like that. But I think it was all painted the same colour.
Okay.
And then it's a short hop from there to making the ribs out of plaster and doing that all in situ. And then, of course, the whole thing takes off in the 16th century. It gets very exciting with all of the ornament. I think being imported from the Pargeters. So the Pargeters have been doing this for 100 years or more externally on houses.
So what are Pargeters?
So Pargeters plaster the outside of houses very ornamentally. So decorative repeat patterns of panelling or figures, biblical scenes often. And I think the technology of the Pargeters was imported to start creating plaster ceilings internally. And
now, when you say imported from another country?
No, sorry. Just the technology was used.
Into the interior space.
Yeah, let's start that again. So the existing technology that the Pargeters were using externally was brought inside to ornament the ceilings. Okay. Because the technology is just the same, really.
Right. So the initial company who actually did the first ceiling, putting the lath up, they had to think about, okay, how am I going to start to adhere a cementous material onto a ceiling without it falling down? So someone had to do some.
Can't say cementous.
All right.
Lime.
Fine.
Yeah. So I mean, again, that technology was used externally on houses. So the houses were built out of timber. Then laths were fixed across the timber, and the pargeters would apply their plasterwork to the laths anyway.
So they took that exterior method, which was with lath, and then just threw it on the ceiling this way. Okay.
Exactly. So it starts off very simply, and then it evolves to become very ornamental. But it's even referred to during that period as cheap magnificence.
Cheap magnificence.
Yeah, because it's very quick, very cheap, but looks very elaborate.
It is. This is beautiful as far as I'm concerned.
We're still way too cheap.
Yeah. As far as clients, I mean, is it a special type of client that would actually request Elizabethan ceiling? Is it?
Well, certainly the first one was, and this was the first one carried out in sort of 300 years, authentically, using the same materials, tools and techniques as the original plasterers were using in 1600. So, yes, it took a special client, and these guys are special. Their philosophy is fantastic.
I love it.
They love everything handmade. They want authenticity. And they have faith in us.
Yeah.
Which was great. So they engaged us to carry out this first ceiling, and it went well. And then subsequent to that, we've done half a dozen more. So they're becoming more common, and I think that's probably something to do with social media.
I see you all the time on LinkedIn showing all the different works you're doing, and I'm constantly impressed to see what's happening. And you actually teach the classes, which we're going to see you tomorrow. Yeah,
exactly, yeah. So we're doing a new ceiling in Kent, and we're teaching people how to do it at the same time.
Let me ask you a little bit more about this barrel ceiling here, as far as the design. So as far as the layout, I mean, how would you lay this out? I mean, I know you said you used the methods from the 1600s, so I guess no lasers, right?
No. Well, it's not that precise, is it?
So you have the lath up there, and how do you lay it out?
Yeah. So it's geometrically relatively precise, but actually locally imprecise. So everything's kind of in the right place. But if you look closely at any one element, you'll see that it's imperfect. And we carried out tests and trials for 20 years to recreate this process, because nothing was ever written down about how it was done. There was very little about the tools they used, although there are references to wooden molds and that kind of thing being used. So we kind of had to reinvent the process through our repairs on existing ceilings. We were able to take them apart and look inside them and find layers and that kind of thing. So with this being our first one, we felt that it would the pattern would have been scratched into the first layer of plaster. But the plaster we used for this one is a plaster that can only be applied in a single coat. So you can't put anything on top of it, even itself.
Oh my gosh.
So we created a slightly different process for this. We painted the design onto the laths with lime wash, and then we applied the ribs first, and then we filled out the spaces between. And as we filled out the spaces between, we then applied the ornament, but really carefully to make sure that it stuck. So it's complicated, that, because you've got a material that won't, that even the manufacturers say won't go on top of itself. But subsequent to that, we've changed the material we use to one that you can. So with this little ceiling here, we changed the process to being a two-coat process, which I think is more akin to the original ceilings.
Okay, a little bit more forgiving versus one coat. So you had to do all the ribbing, and what are those center?
So the bosses in the centre were all hand-modelled, and the rosettes were cast, but then taken out of the mould wet and literally thrown onto the ceiling like a cake, just splatted onto the ceiling, and then hand-tuned, fine-tuned by hand in situ.
This was the first one, so I'm sure it took longer.
It took 5 weeks from start to finish, so actually it didn't take very long at all.
As far as the material, again, you said you did some analysis for 20 years to figure out how they did everything. we're going to talk about it tomorrow, but
Sure.
just quickly, I'm
Yeah, of
wondering,
course.
like, how did you do a chemical analysis to find out how much lime was in it, how much sand was in it?
No, we do. I don't believe you need to do chemical analysis of mortars generally.
Okay.
You know, I've been working with mortars for 45 years, and all I need to do is to feel them in my hand and to take them apart, put them through sieves, and we pretty much know that the mix is always going to be in the range of 1:1 to 3:1.
Okay.
So it's somewhere in between there always. And,
Right,
and we do a few experiments then with, make a mix, see how it works, apply it, see if it stays there. And
Right, but for the viewer, 3:1, 1:1 means 3 of...
So we do a few experiments. The range of mixes is always going to be somewhere between 1 of lime to 1 of aggregate, or 1 of lime to 3 of aggregate. It's going to be somewhere in between that. So it's in the aggregate that's changing. And with early plasterwork, the aggregate is never sand. It's always either stone dust or chalk dust.
Wow.
And that gives them the sort of very elastic properties that you need to be able to do all of these things with it, because the same material, we plaster it onto laths, we cast it into moulds, we form shapes with wooden timbers to create the ribs. It's a very... you can manipulate that material in numerous ways.
I know you have another section downstairs I would like to walk through with you, which is, I guess, the grotesque area of the, I guess that's a term the Elizabethan grotesque.
It's a good term, yeah.
So if we could, I'd like to go downstairs and take a look at that with you.
Sure, let's go now.
All right, let's go. All right, now we're here in the grotesque room, we'll call it, because the Elizabethan plastering in this has a grotesque, I guess, nomenclature. Mm-hmm. Can we describe like what happened? I mean, I see that it looks a little irregular because you were given this room. I guess, was it just wood beams?
Yeah, exactly. And where you see the plaster beam network here, beneath each one of those is a structural timber, but they're all different sizes and at different levels. So our goal was to kind of unify those to a degree, but without becoming too rigid.
Right.
And then to add some ornament to make it a really interesting ceiling. And so the idea of using these kind of rude and semi-rude grotesques evolved, and we did a few tests and trials. And the circle and square pattern on the soffit of the beams is taken and inspired from the fireplace detail
over here,
there.
okay.
So try and knit the two together. The remit from the client was that he wanted grotesques in the corners here, the rudest ones where only he could see them from his desk, and then the semi-rude ones where the visitors would come in at the far end.
Okay, well, we will show the audience some of the semi-rude ones,
Yeah.
which to get a flavor of what's going on here. So I guess this will be a couple of good ones over here. So if you could just come over here, we can take a look at some up here as far as the, what would you call it? Humorous, grotesque?
Yeah, well, we put in the devil and an
here's
angel
the devil over here.
next to each other.
All right.
To kind of show the battle
Between good and evil?
between cement and lime.
And we have another figure up here. Almost looks like a lion's head. I think it's a lion's head.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. I think it's a demon.
A demon,
Yeah,
okay.
Or it might even be the Green Man, because it's got little leaves coming out of its nose. So it is a Green Man.
Green Man. All right, now that's a popular thing here, the Green Man, which where we are, we really don't know much about the Green Man.
Sure.
So could you describe who the Green Man is?
Yeah, so the Green Man is the god that looks after everything in nature.
Okay.
Flora rather than fauna. So he brings the spring every year.
I love that symbolism.
Yeah, and there's a green woman as well, but we use the Green Man here. So the acanthus leaves, or whatever they are, coming out of his nose, the leaves that are coming out of his nose is the new birth, spring arriving, and he also symbolises rebirth and regeneration.
I know each one of these has their own story.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I don't know if we talked about yesterday, but the shell that you have, as far as the moniker for your company, the symbol, and you hide it somewhere in pretty much all your work.
Yeah, we do. Although it's not hidden in this room; it's on display.
It's on display.
Yeah. So the scallop shell is the symbol of the village where I was born, and where my children were born, and where we still live today. So it's the symbol of St James. We live in a village called Deeping St James. It's the pilgrim symbol of the pilgrims that go to visit Santiago de Compostela in northern Spain, which is the burial place of St James.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah.
But to incorporate your heritage with your work,
Yeah, exactly.
and to know for future generations that you can leave your thumbprint, so to speak.
Yeah, well, the goal is that somebody will see a ceiling like this and say, "Oh, we know who did that because we've got a scallop shell on it."
Right.
We don't have to write our names.
This episode is brought to you by Best of Lime, innovators in lime plaster. You saw earlier in the episode where Philip Gaches was using their lime coat product for the new Elizabethan ceiling and commented on how easy it was to work with and the optimal results he can achieve with their product. Philip is a firm believer in this product, so you know it's got to be good. Best of Lime also produces Warm Coat, a lightweight, breathable, insulated lime plaster, and Render Coat, a product designed for high exposure environments like chimneys, plinths, and parapet walls. They also supply the supporting materials and products you need to complete your next project. We really want to thank Martin Brown of Best of Lime for sponsoring this video and being an ardent supporter of wood, stone, and steel. So go to bestoflime.co.uk to find out more. In order to get a better understanding of Gaches Plastering and their abilities, I think this is a good time to tell their story. Gaches Plastering was founded in 1948 by Philip's father, Gordon. He was one of 13 children, while Philip's mother was one of 11. This provided Philip with a rich source of aunties, uncles, and lots of cousins. Gordon started the business after demobilizing from the Royal Air Force after World War II came to a close. Gordon soon hired Philip's uncle Reginald, and they were off and running. It wasn't until 1979 that Philip joined Gaches Plastering with his father, uncle, brother, and brother-in-law. By 1984, Philip's uncle Reginald, along with his brother and brother-in-law, had left, and the business was now entirely in the hands of Philip and his dad, Gordon. Then, 3 years later in 1987, tragedy struck. His father passed away unexpectedly, leaving Philip to run the company on his own at the tender age of 23. He pressed on, taking local plastering work, and steadily built a reputation for craftsmanship and reliability. Over time, his passion for historic buildings reshaped the company's direction, and within a decade, Gaches Plastering was focused almost entirely on restoration and conservation work. Philip's dedication earned him recognition as a Master Plasterer by the New Guild of the Traditional Plastering Craft, an honor reserved for only a handful of artisans, keeping these traditional methods alive today. His work has graced some of Britain's most treasured buildings, including Strawberry Hill House, Windsor Palace, Apethorpe Palace, and even Buckingham Palace. He's even shared his craft abroad, from Myanmar and Afghanistan, all the way to Colorado and Virginia in the US. Today, Philip continues the legacy of Gaches Plastering alongside his two sons, William and Jude, who are apprenticing under him and emerging as skilled craftsmen in their own right. Together, they continue a true family tradition of plastering excellence. In addition to his work in the field, Philip has written 2 books on plastering. The most recent one was just published this year. This is another way Philip is trying to document the process and keep the craft alive. Now, let's head back to Sandwich on day 4 of the class to see how the new Elizabethan-style ceiling is coming along. So it looks like we're getting close to the finished product.
I think so. Yeah, like I say, this morning James finished off some of the writing in this starter card that he's been doing.
Oh my gosh! All right. So now, James, you were the one who was involved in this whole process here. So now, what type of template? We're just looking at a picture the whole time.
Yeah, basically. We just kind of googled the image, and I just had the image on my phone.
It's James's military sort of.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, the crest.
Yes, because
Yeah,
James
so
was in the forces, and this is something personal to him.
To him, yeah.
It's called the Garter Star?
Yeah.
Garter Star. That it's called. So it's basically that.
Okay, so you just looked at that and you try to.
Yeah, I literally just, and that everything I do really, all my Pargeton work is, I find that I have an image of it on my phone. I literally just hold my phone and just freehand it.
Freehand it?
Yeah.
So just with pencil
yeah.
first and then?
Sometimes I'll grid the picture. If it's a little bit, I'm worried that I'm not going to get the proportions quite right, and then I'll perhaps scratch some grid lines in on the plaster and then do that to try and get the scale
right
a little
proportions.
bit right. But in general, I just literally just copy it freehand. You know, literally I just drew a cross like that and then across that way, you know, freehanded again. And then, because nothing is exactly in line, but then we're trying to keep with that Elizabethan freehand style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it was too perfect, it wouldn't look right with everything else in here.
Exactly.
So that's the sort.
This shows the
style
human
that
hand
we're trying
element
to
in
get.
everything you're doing.
I mean, you wouldn't, when it's all down and painted, you couldn't say it's not. It wouldn't been done in like 1600, could you really?
No way.
You couldn't tell the difference, could you really? I don't think you could anyway.
Philip likes to try and do things in the way that they were done then, you know, using pretty much the same tools and that, you know, like the wooden.
Oh yeah, the wooden.
The little wooden, the running moulds that we use for these. You know, it's just a piece of oak.
These
carved
are
out.
stamps for the leaves above your head.
Oh, for the leaves. All right. So you put the material in here.
Yeah. And then they're tapped out and stuck on as well. And the same for these acorns.
Incredible.
The acorns got a mould as well. And these, the jewels and stuff like that.
This is the sort of thing that they would have used all those years ago, just a piece of wood, and then carve it out to whatever shape they want, and then you basically build up the plaster, and then it's just a case of making several passes, cleaning it up, going again.
Right, just running the mould on the strapping.
Then you have to leave it, say, a day. There's only so much you can do in one day, and then because it's lime, it takes a long while to carbonate and dry. And then go over it again, add a little bit more, and then when you finally think, well, I'm not going to get it any better than that, then you have a little finishing tool, a little metal tool with just a little curve end on it, and just try and smooth it over with that, and just finalise it like that. And you just kind of keep going over with lime, because it takes. You've got a day or two to work with it, because it doesn't set up straight away. It's not like that, you know.
Which is forgiving.
Yeah, pretty
Thank
much.
God.
You're not in a rush, are you? And if you make a mistake, you can just cut it back out. And go again.
I spent most of yesterday putting this on, but the writing and all that, I did that this morning because it's still soft, but it was too wet yesterday to try and put any letters in.
Well, then you can't tell, can you? But I feel that was quite straight yesterday, and that's been cut out and put back in, but you wouldn't notice. You know, that yesterday that was too straight. That was coming down here. That's been cut out.
That is so forgiving. Versus what we have, you know, when they use the gypsum and they try to do things and it just turns into a powder, falls apart, you know.
I mean, this stuff in particular, lime is such. This is kind of the consistency we have it when we put it in a mould, and it's literally just like a bit of putty.
So it's starting to get dry.
Rub your eyes afterwards.
Oh, so it's more like a Play-Doh. Consistency.
Yeah, that's quite tough, but that's kind of a looser. So you can see the fibres.
The wetness. You can see the fibres
that
right
is
there.
synthetic fibres.
And that's the rayon, right? Rayon fibres, I think it was this time.
I don't know what synthetic.
All I know is that's
synthetic.
synthetic. They're not.
Versus the historic cow hair or horse hair,
it'd be
right?
cow hair or something like that. But we don't often use animal hair these days, mainly because. These days, the animals are, you know, they're washed and there's certain soaps and things in the water, and the hair will seem alright to start with, but after it dries, it tends to go brittle.
Oh.
And that's because of, whereas years ago, the animals weren't washed like that.
Right.
So it was just water, if they were. There were no soaps or anything.
Right.
So that makes the hair break down, so it doesn't. Sometimes you can do use hair sometimes, but in general, the synthetic stuff, even though it's synthetic, it's so fine, and you can get away with a lot with it. You know, like if I was doing a lot of pargeting, if I had horse hair in there, I'd have
forget
like
it.
hairy,
Right, it would be
bits of
sticking out.
hair
You have to
sticking
shave it.
everywhere. They'd be
Or
coming out
fire
like-
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes we do concrete with fibers in it. You got to torch it down to get all the hairs off. Yeah. So now this is a wooden beam that you've plastered.
Yes. That beam has been lathed with the timber lath.
Oh, so they lathe the beam first in order to attach everything in.
So you've got so it's just like the ceiling. You've got something to push the plaster in, so it pushes around the piece of wood and curls around behind it, and then it hooks on.
Exactly
That's what it really does get a bite. Once that's dried, when it's properly carbonated, if you were to try and knock some of that off, you'd end up pulling off a load of the lath with it. It wouldn't all just come off that easily.
Right, it's stuck into the lath, impregnated.
It gets right in there, and with the fibres and everything, it just knits in so well.
I'm amazed even the design underneath this beam. That's a lot of work, overhand work.
Isn't it? Yeah. Strap work.
Anybody sit in chairs, they do it?
We should have had a
Right?
chair, I think.
A higher chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have a little animal up here as well on this side.
Yeah.
What is that?
I think that's.
It's meant to be like a
I
historical
think
wolf,
that's.
isn't it?
Sorry. It's meant to be a wolf.
A wolf, okay.
Like
I think
an old beast or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, we got.
It's meant to be
here
chasing that rabbit there. So
I
that's
think
what
there was
one
a
end,
few
chasing that
things.
rabbit.
All right, so on this side we have a rabbit.
Yeah.
The wolf chasing a rabbit.
Yeah.
I think James's his kids wanted. They wanted something a little like that. So
Yeah.
there are things that have been put in as for a bit of fun. For
little
the kids,
whimsy.
if you like. Yeah. Yeah, and that's James's little bit of fun. That one there.
This is coming
There's
out.
nothing like this in the US.
Beautiful.
There's nothing like this in the US, no.
No. I mean, you'll have peaks and valleys with different type of people who try to accentuate, add a little artistry here and there, but nothing where it's the whole field.
Yeah, I see.
So you got the basic field you have to put on. First of all, you got the lath. You got to make sure you got the right lath. Split versus sawn.
Yeah.
The type of nail you put on, because the nail's got to be deep enough so it can hold all the weight.
Yeah.
Then putting the whole field on, getting the right mix.
Yeah.
Right. So you got this right mix with the lime, chalk. Fibers. I mean, it's a process, and it's an iterative process, but it's a very forgiving process. You can keep coming back. And what I noticed, which I love the most, there's no sanding dust throughout every part of the house, right? That's the worst, because it stays there for years. It gets in all your electronics. But this it's artistry. It's beauty on top of that. Just versus just plain drywall, and then try to accentuate with some sort of molding on the corner. We got some people who run it in situ, like maybe in the corner, to try and to patch, not originate. You guys can actually do the whole mold for the whole perimeter. That's a Jersey term. You guys, sorry.
That's all right.
All right, so you're pretty much finished here.
Yeah, nearly. We've just got these flat areas to burnish up and a few corners and miters to tidy up, but generally it's there. So that's 4 days, start to finish, from the laths down to a complete ceiling.
And how are your students?
Oh, they're great. Yeah, they've been great. Yeah, it's really
No
nice.
demerits.
Oh, no, everybody will get a certificate.
Yeah, so this last piece here too, can you just describe a little bit about the history of this?
Yes, so it's the Star Garter, which I believe is the emblem of the client's regiment.
All right.
From the army, for his days in the army. So that's been hand modelled in situ from an image that we were given, and it's come out pretty well, I think.
All right. Now, would this work have any shell in it?
There is going to be a scallop shell, of course.
There's going to be a scallop shell. Very
we never create a piece of work without putting our signature shell on it.
But it's always in a secret spot, I know.
It is.
Not conspicuous.
Not always secret, but yes, inconspicuous.
Yeah, inconspicuous.
So it's going to go up in that top corner behind the beam, where it will only be seen if you're actually looking for it. But it'll be there.
Strategy.
Yeah. We hide them, but not too hidden.
Can you just kind of show me how you put these together as far as...
Yeah, of course. So those elements are cast into a mould, a very simple mould, like this.
Was this done at your shop?
Yeah, so we make these up. This is just made out of plaster. So we dust the surface with chalk.
as a release agent, and then we put some of this lime and chalk into it and we press it home, and then we take it out. We dust the mould up again, we put the mould back into it, and then we press it into place with this to push it up onto the ceiling, and it just sticks to itself because this is still wet.
Right.
And the plaster in the mould is wet.
Wow.
So
So how many days from having the field here to putting that on there? Do you have like multiple days?
No, I mean, to make one of those takes about 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
The whole thing.
Wow.
The whole thing.
Okay.
It's a really simple operation.
All right. Now this must have taken a longer time. They have a mold for this as well too?
Yeah, there's a mould for that, but the whole thing takes just a few minutes. It's so simple. So yes, there's a cast mould for that too. Here.
And this is made out of
Plaster.
plaster. Okay.
Yeah, it's just gypsum. Originally they would have been carved in timber, but we don't have the resources to have all of the different moulds carved in timber.
Right.
It's just cost prohibitive.
So it's a plaster mold from something with another site? Or
No,
original design?
No, it's just a piece of clay that I take in our studio, model up to the shape that we want,
Okay.
and then we use that as the master.
Yeah, so it's your original design.
Yeah. All of these pieces are just modelled by me originally, and then made into moulds for casting.
One question I have is when you come across this strapping, I think that's what we referred to it,
Yeah,
and you come to this junction where you have one to the other,
yeah.
how do you make it come out so
Well,
nicely?
it's really simple. So we have one of the mouldings is subservient to the other one, and what we normally do is have the quatrefoil as the master mould, so that runs all the way through without stopping, and the other pieces, they only come up to the very edge as we're forming them.
Right.
And then we fill in the gap by hand at the end.
By hand?
Yeah. So this one does actually run all the way around without stopping.
Right.
But this one is ran to there, and then ran to there, and then ran to there. And it's the same all the way around. So one is subservient to the other.
Okay. And how difficult is it to get the plastering on the wood beam?
Oh, very easy. It's the same process because this has laths underneath it.
All right,
Just
so
as the
nailed
ceiling
lath,
does.
so
Yeah.
the oak lath, nailed.
Yeah. You do sometimes find that they historically don't have that. And they would take a chisel and chisel the wood grain so that it curls up a little bit and forms like little curls.
So that would be the grabbing.
That would give it a key.
The key.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that works very well. You know, sometimes we'll do that. If we're repairing one and that's what it's got, we'll do exactly the same.
Okay.
So our ultimate goal is to create things that are authentic. So that you then arrive at with the same imprecision and imperfection as the original work. So you're not creating it by any kind of pretend approach. It's the original approach. It's right, but we end up with something that looks exactly as it would have done in the 17th century.
Incredible. Now, how many of these ceilings have you done in the last 5 years, say?
I think this is our 7th.
7 ceilings.
Yeah. We do on average now about 2 or 3 a year.
2 or 3 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a very interesting project just because of, normally it would be a larger ceiling or an expanse, but this is a smaller home, but this is a very unique room. It's going to add beauty to it. Of course, the ceiling isn't this high for our viewers at home. We're actually on scaffolding so that all the men can get their hands up to the ceiling without be on ladders.
Yeah.
So, the ceiling's probably 9 feet tall.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
This is a very modest domestic house with very early origins. It's a 15th century house, timber framed, and is in a very prominent position in the town, and was then redeveloped in the 17th century. So around about 1620, the merchant that was living here at the time got very wealthy, and the house went through a period of redevelopment, and they then inserted ceilings like this because this was the Lamborghini or Ferrari of its time. If you had one of these, boy, you were the big guy on the street.
Right.
So they were having these installed to exhibit their wealth, and they would have devices like this built into them, often the royal coat of arms or religious symbolism, to let people know what their
their leanings were, whether royalist or Catholic or Huguenots like us.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I see on the bottom here, you have a whole bunch of different type of decoration here. Almost looks like leather strap.
Yeah, it is leather strapping. Well, it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, it looks, I mean, that was my initial first look, and that's what I guessed. So leather, it does look like a leather strap for a horse or...
Yeah, it is leather strap work. It's a common device used at that time to kind of fill spaces and things. But it also contains these little diamond shapes and these little pieces here. They're all suggestive of jewels,
like metal and jewels.
So they're suggestive of a wealthy client.
I just love the shadows.
Yeah.
That it creates as well,
and it flows as well, doesn't it? You know, it's far from flat, and it flows and creates life. Rather than being a dead, flat, boring thing.
Right.
It's got life.
Which I've seen a lot of dead, flat, boring plastic items.
Yeah. Well, so we all have.
Yeah.
But it's also it's a thing of interest. So people would come to visit just to see the ceiling and spend the evening, and they would. It was the television of its time.
That's incredible,
wasn't it?
Sandwich is a small historic town in Kent, about 10 miles north of Dover. Not far from where the Channel Tunnel, aka the Channel, runs beneath the Strait of Dover, connecting England to France. It's a quiet, picturesque place with a rich history and timeless character. And yes, this is the very town that gave the world its most famous lunch. The name Sandwich comes from John Montagu, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, who's often credited with inventing the sandwich itself. It's remarkable to see a ceiling like this. Every inch handcrafted instead of being built from drywall. By now, you can tell that Philip Gaches is not only a master craftsman, but also a generous man. What you may not know is that the reason he held this course was to help the homeowner James, a former Army veteran. James had always dreamed of having an Elizabethan-style ceiling in his 16th century home. Philip, being the kind and resourceful person he is, came up with a solution. If James took down the old ceiling and prepared the lath, Philip would organize a training course for plasterers who wanted to learn the craft. And together, they'd build a new ceiling from scratch. James got the ceiling he dreamed of, complete with his Army Regiment emblem proudly displayed at the center. A group of plasterers gained valuable hands-on experience, and Philip was able to pass on his knowledge while helping someone who had served his country. By the way, James loves building and design and runs a decorative antiques business called Repton & Co. Be sure to check out his offerings on his website below. By the way, we are always on the lookout for future projects. So, if you know of any interesting craftsmen, design professionals, or projects, go to woodstoneandsteel.org and drop us a note. It's incredible to think that ceilings like this are still being created today, using the same tools, techniques, and natural materials craftsmen relied upon centuries ago. It's the kind of work that shows what's possible when something is made by hand. In a world that often values speed over craftsmanship, it's refreshing to find artisans like Philip who remind us that beauty requires patience and attention to detail. As Philip said earlier, it is the perfection in the imperfection that gives these creations their life. The mark of the maker, forever visible in the surface of the work. The use of natural materials and true craftsmanship is what creates a sense of comfort and belonging in the places we live, work, and come together. And that's what Wood, Stone, and Steel is all about. A more human way of building, a more human way of living.